Good day everyone. So before we start, let me introduce ourselves. I am Ronaldin Bajas together with my partner, Mr. Durek Bokal. So let me introduce to us our topic that we discussed. The topic we discussed is all about critical analysis of Marx theory and conflict economics theory. A brief introduction to a critical analysis of Marx theory and conflict economics theory. Marx theory often refers to as a Marxism conflicts theory or conflict economics theory. Originated in the mid-19th century through the work of Karl Marx and his collaborator Friedrich Engels, it emerged as a response to the rapid industrialization of Europe, widening class inequality, and the exploitation of labor under the capitalist system. Marx sought to explain the structural forces that shape economic relationship, social hierarchy, and the historical change. At its core, Marx's theory argues that society is fundamentally shaped by material economic conditions and the conflicts between social classes, especially between bourgeoisie, owner of the production, and the proletariat, worker, drive social change. Marx proposed that capitalism inherently generates inequality, alienation, and recurring crisis because it is organized around private ownership of profit maximization. Key proponents who expanded, interpreted, or critiqued Marx's ideas include Vladimir Lenin, Rosa Luxemburg, Antonio Gramsci, Louis Althusser, and later critical theorists such as Herbert Marcuse and Jürgen Habermas. This thinker applied Marx's principle to a political movement, ideology, culture, and state power, broadening the scope and conflict theory beyond the economic.
The basic principles of the theory include historical materialism. Social structures evolved primarily from change in the economic base. Class struggle. Social conflict between classes is the engine of historical development. Exploitations. Capitalism profits by appropriating surplus value from workers' labor. Alienation. Workers become disconnected from their labor, products, and human potential under capitalism conditions. Revolutionary. Marx predicted that contradictions within capitalism would ultimately lead to its collapse and the rise of classes society. A critical analysis of Marx's theory typically examines its strengths such as explaining structural inequality and limitation, including economic determinism, or challenge or applying the theory to modern diversified. How Marx's conflict economic theory explains why crimes occur. Marx's theory is rooted in the idea that society is divided into two classes, the powerful, bourgeoisie, capitalists, and the working class, or proletariat. Crime from this perspective is not simply the result of individual moral failure, but product of unequal social and economic structure. First, crime is a result of economic equality. Marxists argue that capitalism produces poverty, unemployment, unequal access to opportunities, material deprivation. This condition pushes some individuals, especially those in the working class, to commit economic crimes, theft, burglary, drug dealing, as rational survival strategies. Crime becomes a reaction to black opportunities and exploitation. Second, crime reflects power struggles between social classes. Under capitalism, different groups pursue their own interests. Crime often emerges from worker resisting exploitations, group fightings for scarce resources, marginalized populations defending themselves against systematic disadvantage. Conflict itself built into economic structure produces crime. Third, laws are made by the powerful to protect their interests. Marxists view laws not as neutral but as tools the ruling class. Therefore, crimes of the poor, robbery, vandalism, street crime are heavily policed and punished. Crime of the powerful, corporate, fraud, environmental harm, wage theft are often ignored, under punished or legalized. This means crime statistics reflect class bias rather than actual harm. Fourth, capitalism encourages greed and individualism. Capitalism promotes competition, profit maximization, consumerism, personal success at all costs. These values can encourage white-collar crime, corruptions, insider trading, and corporate misconduct. Crime becomes a logical extension of capitalism values. Critical analysis of Marx's conflict theory of crime. While Marxist criminology provides strong insight into the link between inequality and crime, it also has certain limitations. Below is a balanced critique. Strengths of the theory. First, highlights the role of social inequality. Marxism correctly emphasized that poverty, unemployment, and marginalization increase the likelihood of crime. Modern empirical research support this connection. Second, reveal biases in the legal system. It explains why street crime is punished harshly. Corporate and political crimes are often ignored. The justice system treats the poor differently from the rich. This remains highly relevant today. Third, show that crime is socially constructed. The idea that laws reflect the interests of the powerful help explain why certain behaviors are criminalized while others are not. Weaknesses, criticism. First, overemphasize economic explanations. Critics argue Marxism reduced all crime to class conflict, ignoring psychological factors, biological influence, cultural values, individual choice. Not all crime is a direct product of capitalism. Crimes of passion, hate crimes. Second, ignores crime in non-capitalist societies. Crime also exists under socialist societies, tribal societies, mixed economies. This weakens the idea that capitalism is the root of all crime. Third, romanticize working class criminals. Some Marxist interpretations portray offenders as victims of capitalism, downplaying personal responsibility, the real harm caused to other working class people. Fourth, limited explanation of non-economic crimes. Marxist struggles to explain domestic violence, sexual assault, drug use not motivated by profit, hate-motivated violence. This requires psychological, cultural, or gender-based explanation. Marx's conflict theory argues that crimes occur because capitalism creates inequality, exploitation, and competition. Crime is understood as rational response to structural disadvantage or a result of capitalism. The values of greed and profit. Laws themselves are shaped by the powerful meaning that crime is social construct designed to maintain class dominance. However, the theory tends to overemphasize economic costs, underplays individual responsibility, and cannot fully explain crimes unrelated to class conflict. Case scenario. In the bustling city of Industrieville, a major corporation called Mega Textile dominates the textile industry. The owners and executive of Mega Textiles, representing the bourgeoisie, enjoy lavish lifestyle, luxury cars, designer offices, and exclusive vacation. Meanwhile, the factory workers representing the proletariat toil for 12-hour shift in hot, unsafe conditions, earning barely enough to cover basic living expenses. Over time, the workers begin to notice a stark imbalance. Their labor produces enormous profits, yet they see almost none of it. The corporation invests in expensive marketing campaigns and bonuses for executive rather than improving wages for working conditions. A growing sense of frustration spread among the employees. Workers start meeting in secret, sharing stories of exploitations and inequality, and discussing the unfair distribution of wealth and power. Eventually, tension reached a breaking point. The workers organized strike demanding higher pay, shorter hours, and safer workers' conditions. The owners resist, arguing that increasing wages would hurt profits, creating a direct conflict of interest between the classes. This struggle exemplifies Marx's theory. Society is fundamentally divided by class, and social change occurs through the conflict between those who control resources and those who labor and create them. Over time, such conflicts have the potential and reshape the social and economic structure entirely. Personal insight in Marx's conflict theory. I was find it strictly relevant to understanding many today's social and economic challenges. The theory's central idea that society is shaped by struggle over resources and power between dominant and subordinate groups resonates in the context of growing income inequality, precarious work, and corporate influence in politics. For example, the widening gap between the ultra-wealthy and working population mirrors Marx's predictions about explanations under capitalism. Similarly, the rise of the big economy and the erosions of job security highlights ongoing struggles where workers often have limited bargaining power against profit-driven corporations.
Personally, I see the theory as a lens that encourages critical thinking about fairness and systematic structure rather than attributing societal issues solely the individual effort or failure. It reminds me that many contemporary problems such as unaffordable housing, student debt, or labor exploitation are not isolated incidents but symptoms of broader structural inequalities. At the same time, recognize the end of the adapt of Marx's theory ideas the modern complexities. Contemporary conflicts are often multidimensional, involve not only class but also race, gender, and global economic dynamic. Integrating Marx's structural analysis with insight from the other social theories allow for a more than encouraged understanding current issue. Ultimate Marx's theory conflicts remains a powerful tool for analyzing power inequality and social change, promoting both critical awareness and reflection on how societies address structural injustice practice away.